Hello, my name is Hannah Warren. I'm a student in IST 719, Information Visualization for Fall 2016. And my final project for this course is going to deal with farmers markets locations and the locations of food deserts nationwide. So my data for this project is coming from the United States Department of Agriculture, two separate divisions of the USDA, the Agricultural Marketing Service, which provides the directory of farmers markets nationwide, and you can also subset it into just the winter farmers markets, or farmers markets that are open throughout the year. And also the USDA provides a pretty comprehensive data set on locations of food deserts nationwide, or counties in the U.S. where there's a high percentage of people who have both low access to grocery stores and also they don't have vehicles, so that they can't get to any of the grocery stores that are further away. I want to compare this data with the farmers market data, both seasons of farmers markets. And then if there's still time and space on my poster, I'd also like to bring in some data on the health of people in these areas which are affected adversely by a low prevalence and low availability of nutritious food. So, I think the audience for this visualization is probably narrowed down to a lot of people who are in the food community, people who go to farmers markets, people who try to eat healthily, and people who believe that everyone should have access to nutritious food nationwide. I think could be an interesting project for Department of Agriculture people and employees to look at. Also people who, probably a subset of those people that I mentioned in the food community, who might be interested in creating or hosting a farmer's market, or people looking for a farmer's market close to them where they can go and do their shopping. And also probably farmers and local growers who are interested in selling produce at those farmers markets might be interested to see the comparisons of the data and how they're correlated. So, key questions I'd like to answer. What's the concentration of farmers markets nationwide? What are the locations? Are they distributed widely, especially across, I'm curious about the Midwest. Are there mostly just farmers markets in the large cities, or can you find some out in the countryside as well? How does the concentration change when it gets cold outside and when it's not growing season anymore? Do farmers market locations correlate at all with locations of food deserts, like I mentioned before? Locations where it's hard to find food and groceries are in short supply for the population of people living there? And if so, what's the relationship? Which farmers markets accept alternative methods of payment as well? The data set, the first one that I mentioned a moment back from the USDA Agricultural Marketing Service, also deals with payment possibilities, and it says simply yes or no whether or not you can use women and children benefits, or WIC benefits, and SNAP benefits, or food stamps. And how does this relate to the location and prevalence of food deserts? Are food desert locations places closest to food deserts? Is it easy to pay with alternative currency and benefits from the government, or is it more difficult? And here is my poorly drawn map of the United States. I made the Northeast kind of too big for the actual map size, but you get the idea. I only filled in a couple of states, New York and Pennsylvania, to give you an idea of the kind of visualization I want to try. So first, for my first visualization, shown as the shading, I want to do a mask of the counties in the U.S. and then shade in the ones darkest where there's the least, or where there's a higher prevalence of people who have no car and are not close to nutritious food or grocery stores. I also then want to visualize farmers market locations, probably with points on latitude and longitude points on the map, and then possibly with a different character or symbol showing us which ones accept food stamps. And then finally, I'd like to do a little bit of work to visualize farmers market locations in the wintertime. those would be a different color than the other scatter plot points. And then if I have the time, I'd like to zoom in on specific regions, maybe do like just the Northeast, just the West Coast here, maybe the Plains states. Take a look there, take a look at the South. In my preliminary investigations and looking at the USDA websites, they actually have really great maps. I can even show you that. Showing the prevalence of these problems. So it is pretty bad in the South, it seems like. Households with no car and low access to a store. A lot of it happens down here and some in the Plains states. So I think it might be worthwhile to zoom in on specific regions and examine a little bit closer that way. So that's my project, and then in addition, if I can add more information or figure out a good way to visualize health information on top of or potentially in a separate visualization, I might take a look at obesity rates. There's also some data on preschool pre-diabetic diagnosis, I think. Take a quick look. Low-income preschool obesity rate. So that might be another data point to add. It's interesting that some states don't collect this information and some counties don't. So it might be a little bit more useful, might not be so great. I'll have to play around with it and see what's the best way to go about that. But that is my